But I am so glad that someone of his stature who came from the game and now is taking the activist role a lot more serious than a Ice Cube, a Cardi B. You know what I'm saying? Like, to those people, and this is, I'm paraphrasing what Malcolm X said. You guys are a bunch of clowns. We don't need people like you representing black folks in what is the best interest for us. So when it comes to celebrities, especially rappers in 2023, trying to get into the political atmosphere, I guess you could call it, I highly oppose celebrities trying to voice their opinion, because 9 times out of 10 they're very little informed. Even though they've grown up in the hood, they may have grown up poor, going through some things. When you making money, all of a sudden, I'm just assuming now, because I'm just a regular guy right now. I'm just assuming you must forget where you came from, because some of the things that some of these rappers now champion for, they would have never have before, because it doesn't benefit, you know, the regular folk. It just benefits themselves in their pockets. You know what I'm saying? So it is rare that I will find a celebrity, a rapper, that actually knows what they're talking about. And who I'm talking about is Killer Mike. I'm pretty sure you guys watching me. If you're watching me, it's a good chance you have to know who Killer Mike is. From what I know, he's not really doing music as much. And if he is, I haven't heard it. And I think that's probably the best part, because it feels, when it comes to celebrities, it feels like if you want to be an activist and actually have a meaningful impact on a culture and in communities, you have to do that full time. You can't just post a couple of tweets and think that's going to change something, Cardi B. It doesn't work like that. You can't just do that and be like, oh, I'm an activist now. Like, no, it actually takes time, effort, and it may conflict with your music. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna watch like a short clip of Killer Mike speaking to Joe Rogan, and he doesn't give the greatest pushback, but I love how he breaks it down to Joe Rogan, because if this was anyone else and Joe Rogan asking this question, they wouldn't give Joe Rogan a pushback, and then they find themselves going down into this rabbit hole of conservative conspiracies and just nonsense. But I like how Killer Mike just saved him. Joe Rogan was about to jump off and he saved him. It's like, hey, come back to reality. And he does a good job doing that. So let's go ahead and watch this clip and let's have that conversation.
And if they don't convince me to believe, I'm not going to stand next to him, right? She wanted me to stand next to somebody. I'm like, sorry, lady, I've had some conversations with her. I've tried my best, but I'm not hating, but it's just that ain't my thing. But this chick was just like, I'm going to use my platform to, and I'm like, you don't really have a platform?
Yeah.
But she, in her bio, she's an Emmy-nominated actress. Man, winning that Emmy sure felt good. I blocked her, but I'm sure someone has told her. But I'm just like, holding it, I hope she sees the picture. Like, yeah, thank God for your hate, lady, because it made me care. I went to the ceremonies and walked away with a trophy.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
And to her, there was a study that was done recently about left-wing authoritarianism and the way certain people behave, and that it's just it's like a bunch of different psychological conditions that they're almost indistinguishable from like horrible narcissism. Horrible, like psychotic behavior. Like, see if you can find it. What their conclusions were. But at the fringes, when people, what happens is when you have groups that are ideological groups, whether it's the left or the right. You're gonna get people that just join that group that are absolutely insane. And if you don't call it out, then you have a giant problem because people are going to associate you with whatever the worst aspects of your, like right-wing Proud Boys, like that kind of shit. The experts somehow overlooked authoritarians on the left. Many psychologists wrongly assume that coercive attitudes exist only among conservatives. Of course, it's a human characteristic.
I did a speech for FIRE, for the organization FIRE, and I missaid, I'm sorry, the brown shirts of Italy, but what I meant was the brown shirts of Germany, that as the left, as you accomplish more power politically, don't use it as a bludgeon in the same way you've perceived it to be used against you.
Right.
That you have to rule, quote unquote, in a more fair and equitable way. You can't let your fair and equitable thoughts become totalitarian.
Yeah, you also can't.
So one point right there, and it's easy for people to look at articles like that and be like, oh, left-wing, narcissist is a thing. And it's like, well, I mean, technically it's a human thing, ain't it? Like you don't have to be in politics to find people like that. You know what I'm saying? Like if people like Joe Rogan was just to read that article, they'd be like, well, see, Democrats can be narcissists, and it's like, wait, hold on, time out. First off, that article title to me is way misleading. It's like, let's try to not gaslight situations and be like this is trash. That is a human problem. And once again, you can step out of politics and still find people like that. And second off, what Killer Mike is talking about, you can't be in a position of need and you understand how the power structure is against you, and then find your way through the cracks to now be in charge and now use that power to continue to enslave the people. How many times do we see examples of that? People come out the hood, from, one way or another, sports, entertainment, and now they got a little bit of money. Now they forget how it is to be poor. Now all of a sudden they're pro-capitalism, and with them not understanding how that system works, because it works for them now. Now they got money, but they don't have the knowledge to understand how they're lucky and they slip through the cracks. And now they're promoting something that's still holding their people back. You know what I'm saying? I mean, maybe that's a little too deep from what Killer Mike is talking about, but I mean, it's, if you just put a little thought into it, you'll figure it out.
Bludgeon in the same way you've perceived it to be used against you.
Right.
That you have to rule, quote unquote, in a more fair and equitable way. You can't let your fair and equitable thoughts become totalitarian.
Yeah, you also can't give in to this crazy instinct that we all humans have to be tribal.
Yes.
And I am a Democrat. I am a lifelong blue no matter who. You can't, that's not wise.
That's both, it's both sides, but we tend, I was fortunate enough to grow up in a household where my...
Yeah, Joe Rogan, both sides. Both sides. I need you to practice saying that. Both sides.
Grandmother was SCLC member, from Tuskegee, had been a part, born in 1932, had been a part of civil rights stuff. My grandmother grew up on a farm, could go to school. They weren't wealthy, but they had food, they had sustenance, they had education. My grandfather grew up working in a sawmill at 8 years old because his father abandoned his family and he had to feed his mothers and sisters. So his mentality was much more libertarian, I would say. His mentality was, if God gave you an appetite and a mind to build a fishing rod, you should be able to catch fish. And my grandmother was like, you shouldn't complain about having to buy a fishing license because the game warden has to make sure things are legit and somebody's to clean up the park. So I got a chance to see these wonderful political arguments between these two people that loved each other. My grandmother, college-educated woman, my grandfather drove a truck and hauled moonshine and gambled, you know what I mean? Yeah. He married this God-fearing woman. I never saw him walk into church. But they had these great debates that showed me that there are no absolutes. That there are going to be some things from each side that make sense to run a good household. And I watched them just do it right. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad I saw that because I don't feel married to any ideology.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's important.
I think that's probably one of the most important things that a lot of people seem to either overlook or just don't understand or haven't put too much thought behind it is you can claim to be a Democrat. I mean, that's a whole nother story, but you can claim to be a Democrat and still have conservative values. You can still, which is rare, it's rare, trust me. You can be a Republican and still vote for progressive policies. I know it's crazy. Hey, don't unsubscribe. I know that sounds crazy, but if you just take 2 seconds to think about that, that's how a democracy works. You can't just have one side that only believes in one way, one ideology, and that's how 331 million people need to live by. That doesn't work for everybody. You see what I'm saying? So it's okay to support conservative policies and you're a Democrat if it makes sense. Or okay, don't contradict yourself too much, but if it makes sense, go for it. So it's not too
Shouts out to Betty and
unbelievable.
Willie. God bless the dead, man.
Yeah, getting attached to ideologies is always a bad idea, particularly when we like human beings in America have two choices. Yeah, you have two choices: the left and the right, and people just they adhere to whatever this side.
Okay, so once again, and I'm glad he's just so confused. We just got two parties, the left and the right. I'm just gonna throw this cheap shot in there. We have someone like Cornel West, who isn't the best politician, a little rough around the edges. He has to get some things figured out, but he has the mind, he has the heart, he has the love, he has the consistency, he has the history to be something important. President? But we actually have an opportunity for a third party. We just have to step out of our comfort zone and just go balls deep. Hey, you're crying about not having a third party, and then when we have someone like Cornel West who has potential, you're like, oh no, but it's gonna spoil for Democrats and then Republicans. Then shut up. Then stop complaining about not having more parties. But then when we have a potential for a third party, now you want to complain and cry about something else. Come on.
Doing because they want them to win. Yeah. And then you have some weird problematic figures like Trump who comes along. Yeah. And there's a lot of never Trumper Republicans. Yeah. They don't know what to do. It's
but I say in this crazy ass country, pay attention to the people who have no chance of winning sometimes, because they're gonna be some truths told. Like, no matter what you feel about Trump, there was a moment in that debate, Chappelle talks about it, when Trump said, of course these loopholes exist. They exist. He was talking to Hillary. Yeah. Like, hell yeah, I'm gonna take advantage of the loophole. Yeah. Because they also exist for the people who are doing it in your campaign. I was like, finally. Yes. A member of the oligarchy class says, yeah, motherfucker, we're cheating. Yeah. And I was like, at that point, Americans should have said hard reset. Yeah. Like, they literally should have said pre-Eisenhower, hard reset. We're gonna reform all this shit. The money's gonna work different. None of us said a goddamn thing. And you know why? Because we're all complacent in some capacity. We're all accompanied in this grand scheme that's fucking us over.
And not to cut them off, but to add on to that, not only that some of us are complacent, which sometimes being content with what you have is not a bad thing. Not everybody wants to be a billionaire. Not everybody wants to have 10 yachts and 10, V12s. Like, some people don't want all that. But one thing that's also holding up this system is people inspiring to one day get in. They don't want to tear down the club because they believe if they work 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week, they can kind of squeeze in and enjoy the quote unquote good life. So they don't want to tear something down that they believe their whole life is to where they need to be considered successful. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you have poor people defending, Elon Musk's of being a billionaire, and honestly, he contributes very little to society. Very little. Okay, Tesla. Okay. And he didn't even come up with, but that's a whole nother conversation. That's why we have poor people defending billionaires for little to no reason. Because that poor person one day in his heart wants to have that opportunity. But if you tear it down, then he's going to be, I guess, poor forever. So I don't know. This is what I think.
And if you don't have an educated constituency of proletariat, it's all just going to kind of reform. So like during this election, people's like, who are you supporting? I was like, I don't give a fuck nationally. I give a fuck that Cornel West is in the race because I'm interested to see what he's going to say. Kennedy, I'm interested just to hear, whatever crazy shit people think he's, whoever else is running. I'm just interested because the two parties we know we got, but there are all these little voices that pop up, that little grains of truth. They stand no chance of winning in some cases, but let me just take a grain of what you're saying, and that way I'll know what to take back to the party that wins and say, hey, what about this? Why do we have money for this, but we don't have money for this, Like Sanders, people told me, like, Mike, you're a business guy, you like money. Sanders even said, hey, I think you're going to be a billionaire. I'm going to tax the shit out of you, too. We were laughing and joking backstage at the Amazon worker strike that we were both.
Okay, so to kind of add on to that, well, not really add on, but to kind of question that, I understand what he's talking about, like, people who don't really have a chance of winning, like Cornel West, which never say never, okay? Hey, Justin Bieber said it right, never say never. I think it's more than just, okay, they're gonna bring up some points that is worth a conversation because they're not tied to no party. They have no chance of winning, so they could just pretty much say whatever they feel like they need to say. I think that we're kind of beyond these conversations. I mean, I think throughout 10, 20 years, we done had a lot of conversations about a lot of the, probably the Big 10 conversations, gun reform, prison, policing, economics, school, lower, increasing wages. We've had these conversations with some of the best people who know what they're talking about. We're beyond that now. Now we need some action. If you want to see, if you want to kind of go back on these conversations and kind of see how they went, look it up on YouTube. I mean, damn, we have a catalog of these conversations from Martin Luther King to W.E.B. Du Bois. Like, do we really need to continue to have these conversations and continue to propose these to the people in charge? They know. I mean, some of them look dumb as hell, but they kind of know. They got an idea. They're not the sharpest knife in the kitchen, but they know. They're not stupid. And if they are, I don't know who's voting for them to be in charge. So I understand what Killer Mike is saying, but I feel like we are beyond this conversation, and I want to be beyond this. I don't want to be having this same conversation when I'm in my 60s and 70s, because then it's going to be pointless. You know what I'm saying? So, let's move on.
Supporting, but my thing is, I don't want to pay the government more taxes. But if I got to pay more taxes, let me pay what the guy's plan who's going to educate kids in trades and scholarship for free. Because that way I'm making a 20-year investment so that my 16-year-old daughter, when she's 36, has a much better country full of educated kids versus I bought more missiles. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. That's possible.
But
that's not possible.
But if you don't put them in now, I am a millionaire. I'm going to do my best to protect my fucking money.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't born a millionaire. You know what I mean? I was born just a working class black kid named Michael.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Michael never liked working at Six Flags or AutoZone or UPS. So once Michael fucked around to figure out how to sing and dance and make some money, Michael wants to save more of his money than spend, you know?
All right. I like how he put that. So to his last point, I would never fault anyone from wanting to protect their money, especially if you came from nothing and, you know, you figured out how to make some money. You know, do your thug dizzle, you know what I'm saying? Protect your money, you know, use it wisely, to speak to people who are knowledgeable in that area, in accountants, and just don't blow your money. But I do have an issue with people promoting the same system that 9 times out of 10 would want to keep them as a peasant, as someone who needs to rely on companies for our labor. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's a fine line. You know what I'm saying? It's a fine line, and I know Killer. I mean, I don't know him personally. I don't want to make it seem like I know the dude personally, but from what I've seen, you know, for, you know, the years that I've been kind of watching him, he's very knowledgeable. I'm pretty sure there might be some things I might disagree with, but I am so glad that someone of his stature who came from the game and now is taking the activist role a lot more serious than a Ice Cube, a Cardi B. You know what I'm saying? Like, to those people, and this is, I'm paraphrasing what Malcolm X said. You guys are a bunch of clowns. We don't need people like you representing black folks in what is the best interest for us. You're only looking out for yourselves. You're not educating yourself. You're just talking because it's 2023. You feel like you have a platform with people who will listen to you, and you just want to say something. And to be honest, you're wasting time, and you're making it a lot more difficult for the people who actually, like Killer Mike, has something to say, and you're drowning him out with your nonsense. Ice Cube, that's to you. So if you want to do anything, take some notes, okay? Take some notes and try again. That's simple. So once again, if you think I'm wrong, if you just watch this whole video, this whole, 20-something minute video, and be like, hey, Mr. Superior, you're wrong on everything, which I highly doubt, leave a comment down below. And like always, let's have that conversation.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to join the conversation by subscribing. Make sure to tune in next time, and like always, power to you, power to me, power to the people, power to the pod.